Level 1, the cadet. You're 18. You didn't stumble into this. You applied 3 times before they said yes. The Air Force officer qualifying test, the medical screening, the psychological evaluation, the panel interview where 4 officers stare at you without blinking and ask what you would do if you were ordered to bomb a city block containing a confirmed target and possible civilians. You answered without flinching. That's why you're here.
Undergraduate pilot training begins at Laughlin Air Force Base, Del Rio, Texas. The heat is relentless. The schedule is worse. You're up at 0430, ground school by 0600. Aerodynamics, navigation, meteorology, emergency procedures. You memorize checklists the way other people memorize prayers, because out there, they serve the same purpose. Your first flight is in a T-6 Texan II single-engine turboprop. The instructor says nothing encouraging. He watches your hands, watches your eyes.
Watches what you do when the horizon tilts 40 degrees and the ground starts filling your windscreen. You correct barely. He marks something down. There are 24 cadets in your class. By month 4, 6 have washed out. No dramatic exit. One morning, their room is cleaned out. Their name is off the board. Training continues. You stop making friends too quickly. Level 2, the student pilot. You're 20. You've moved to the T-38 Talon.
Supersonic twin engine. No mercy. It doesn't fly. It negotiates. Every input is a conversation between you and physics doesn't compromise. Night formation. Flying begins. You hold position 30 feet off the lead aircraft's wing at 400 knots in total darkness and navigating by a single row of dim blue lights on the wingtip ahead of you. 1 degree of drift and you're at debris field. Your instructor is a former F-15 pilot named Major Calloway. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. He simply says, again.
Every time you drift, every time your scan breaks down, every time your brain tries to look at too many instruments at once, pilots who stare at one thing die looking at it. Scan. Always scan. You scan. You graduate in the top third of your class. Enough? Assignment night arrives. Everyone gathers in a room. Names are called. Aircraft types are assigned. F-16, C-17, KC-135. And then your name. 1 aircraft, 2 words. B-2 Spirit. The room goes quiet. The B-2 is not just a bomber. It is the most advanced flying machine the United States operates. A flying wing, radar invisible and nuclear capable, built by Northrop Grumman and based exclusively at Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri. There are only 20 in existence. The program is classified. The training is classified. Your future is classified. You call your parents that night. You tell them you got a good assignment. You tell them nothing else. Level 3, the mission-ready pilot. You're 23. B-2 qualification takes 14 months.
You learn systems that don't appear in any public manual. The aircraft's fly-by-wire system, its quadruply redundant flight computers, its terrain-following radar, its GPS-aided targeting. The B-2 has no vertical tail. It is stabilized entirely by software. 4 flight control computers running simultaneously, any one capable of flying the aircraft alone if the others fail. It doesn't feel like a plane. It feels like an idea someone made aerodynamic. Your first solo flight in the B-2 lasts 6 hours. You fly over Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota. From 50,000 feet, the curvature of the Earth is visible at the edges of the cockpit glass. You are one of fewer than 100 people on Earth currently qualified to fly this aircraft. No one back home knows. Mission-ready qualification requires you to execute a simulated long-range strike mission, take off from Whiteman, aerial refueling over the Pacific, penetrate a simulated air defense network, deliver a weapons package on coordinates in a designated range, return and land. The full profile runs 32 hours. You complete it without a single procedural deviation. Your evaluator signs your form and says nothing more than, "Welcome to the 393rd." The 393rd Bomb Squadron, or the same unit that flew the Enola Gay in 1945. You understand the weight of that number.
Level 4, the aircraft commander. You're 27. You now sit in the left seat. You are responsible for the aircraft, the mission, and the co-pilot beside you. The B-2 is crewed by two, only two. On a combat sortie, you and one other person carry enough firepower to alter a war's trajectory. 16 B-61, 12 nuclear gravity bombs, or 8,500-pound conventional weapons. The aircraft costs $2.1 billion. Your mission folder is classified at a level most generals never see. You fly your first real-world deployment to Diego Garcia, the joint U.S.-British base in the Indian Ocean. From there, the B-2 can reach nearly any point on Earth without refueling.
You fly training profiles over the Pacific, or you conduct readiness exercises that are never announced and never reported. One night, an alert comes through. Not an exercise, real-world tasking. You and your co-pilot, Captain Reyes, are given coordinates, a target package, a launch window. You sit in the aircraft for 4 hours while decision-makers on the other side of the planet deliberate. Then the mission is stood down. The order never comes. You taxi back to the shelter, shut down the engines, sign the maintenance log. You never speak about that night, not to Reyes, not to anyone. Before we go further, if you've made it this far, comment what you want next. Hit that like button right now and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We upload every single day.
Level 5, the Instructor pilot. You're 31. You no longer fly alone. Should you fly with students in the right seat? New B-2 pilots who remind you of yourself 8 years ago. Precise, eager, still believing that skill is the primary variable. You know better now. You teach the aircraft, but more than that, you teach decision-making under the kind of pressure that doesn't exist in textbooks. What do you do when the primary targeting system fails over denied territory and you're 12 minutes from the weapons release point? What do you do when your co-pilot calls out a warning you don't hear? What do you do when the mission you briefed at 1400 no longer resembles the world you're flying into at 0200?
One student, Lieutenant Nakamura, is technically brilliant, perfect scores, exceptional instrument scan. But in the simulator, when the unexpected happens, he freezes for 2 seconds before reacting. 2 seconds is a long time at altitude. You write it in his evaluation, not as a failure, as a pattern to fix. You work him through scenario after scenario until hesitation becomes response, until response becomes instinct. 3 months later, he qualifies. He thanks you. You nod. You move to the next student. Level 6, the operations officer. You're 35. You no longer spend your days in a cockpit.
You spend them in a building adjacent to the flight line, managing schedules, readiness rates, maintenance cycles, and mission briefs for the entire squadron. The 393rd has 12 primary aircrew. Each must maintain currency, minimum flight hours, weapon system proficiency checks, nuclear evaluations. Your job is to ensure all of it happens simultaneously without breaking the aircraft or the people. Or you attend daily briefings where the language shifts. You stop hearing sortie and start hearing posture, nuclear posture, strategic posture, deterrence messaging. You are now a gear in something larger than missions. A readiness inspection arrives unannounced, as they always do. Inspectors from Air Force Global Strike Command. 3 days. Every procedure, every checklist, every response time measured to the second.
One aircraft has a maintenance discrepancy logged incorrectly, a form error, minor technically. But in nuclear operations, form errors are not minor. They are the system failing to document itself. The inspector looks at you. You own it. No deflection. You spend the next 72 hours correcting every document in the squadron's maintenance history. You pass the inspection marginally. Your wing commander calls you in. Marginally is still passing, he says. Then fix it before the next one. You fix it. Level 7. The squadron commander. You're 40. You command the 393rd Bomb Squadron. Approximately 300 personnel. Pilots, navigators, weapons officers, maintenance crews, intelligence analysts, support staff. All of them reporting upward through a chain that ends ultimately in the Oval Office. Your aircraft are on continuous alert. This is not a metaphor. At any hour of any day, a B-2 from your squadron can be armed, crewed, and airborne within minutes of an authenticated presidential order. You brief your pilots on a rotation policy,
crews cycling through alert duty, training, and rest in patterns designed to maintain both readiness and human function. Sleep deprivation is an operational risk. You treat it as white. A young pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Ferris, requests a profile deviation on a training mission, a minor route adjustment he believes improves fuel efficiency. His math is correct. His reasoning is sound. You deny it. He asks why. You tell him.
Because deviations require approvals that require justifications, that require time. And time is the one variable this aircraft cannot afford to treat loosely. He nods. He doesn't agree. You see it in his face. You were him once. Level 8, the wing commander. You're 45. You command the 5009th Bomb Wing, the only B-2 wing in the world. Your authority covers the aircraft, the personnel, the facilities, and the nuclear weapons stored in hardened igloos beneath the Missouri soil. You travel now. Washington, Stratcom headquarters in Omaha, Pentagon briefings. You sit at tables where the maps have no labels because everyone in the room already knows what the red circles mean. At one briefing, a general you've respected for a decade argues against a readiness posture change.
His argument is logical. His data is sound. The room nods. You disagree. You say so. The room gets quiet in a particular way, the way it does when someone says something that can't be unsaid. You lay out your case slowly, without volume. You cite maintenance cycle impacts, crew fatigue accumulation, operational risk during transition. The general does not respond immediately. 3 weeks later, the posture change is modified. Not canceled, modified. No one credits you formally. You don't need them to. Level 9, the strategic commander. You're 51. You are now a general officer. 2 stars. You advise on strategic bomber force structure, nuclear modernization timelines,
And the integration of the B-21 radar, the B-2's eventual replacement, into the existing fleet. The B-21 radar, built by Northrop Grumman under a contract awarded in 2015, is designed to eventually carry the same nuclear and conventional mission sets as the B-2, with updated stealth materials, lower operating costs, and a larger planned fleet. You have seen the classified performance data. You understand what it means for the aircraft you spent your career flying. You sit in a briefing where a junior analyst presents transition timeline projections. His numbers are optimistic. His assumptions underestimate the qualification time required to convert experienced B-2 crews to a new platform. You correct him gently, specifically with data. Afterward, a colleague says to you, he'll remember that for the rest of his career. You think about Major Calloway, the T-38. The words again, spoken without frustration, just expectation. Good. You say he should.
Level 10, the last flight. You're 56. Your final flight in the B-2 Spirit is a training profile. Nothing classified, no weapons, no alert. Just you and a co-pilot. Young, sharp, careful, flying over the same American planes you flew over 33 years ago on your first B-2 qualification sort. You don't announce it as your last flight. You brief it like any other. You fly it like any other. At 50,000 feet somewhere over Nebraska, you level the aircraft and let the autopilot hold altitude for 60 seconds. You look out through the cockpit glass, the curvature of the earth at the edge of the sky, the same view it's always been. You think about the missions that never happened, the launch windows that closed before the order came, the night in Diego Garcia, the 4 hours sitting armed on the ramp while the world decided what it wanted to be. You think about the pilots you trained, Nakamura, Reyes, Ferris. Some of them command squadrons. Now, one of them will probably sit in the chair you're vacating. You think about the 20 aircraft, the 2 that were lost in accidents over the years, one in 2008 at Andersen Air Force Base in Guam, a moisture-induced sensor failure causing a rotation error on takeoff, both crew members ejecting safely. The remaining fleet, the one still flying. The co-pilot says nothing. He understands something is happening without being told what it is. You begin the descent back to Whiteman. You grease the landing out of habit, out of pride. You taxi to the shelter, shut down the engines, complete the post-flight checklist for the last time. You sign the maintenance log. You hand your helmet back to the crew chief. You walk across the ramp in the Missouri afternoon, and you don't look back. Not because it doesn't matter, but because you already know what's there. 33 years, 20 aircraft, 1 mission type, total secrecy. The sky never knew your name. That was always the point.